First up, though, I want to know about your social media usage. Now, I want to get your sense of what you're liking or not liking about Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any other form of social media that you're using, Snapchat. There may be things I feel like there's always something. There's always some form of social media that I've really never heard of. So whatever it is you might be using, tell me about your use and tell me how you use it and what you like about it or how it could be improved. Can I just point out, I'm not interested from hearing from people who don't use it, who don't like it. You know what I mean? Oh, I can't stand the way everyone's on their phones talking on Facebook all the time. I get that if that's your view. That's a conversation. We have another point. This conversation is about users and what you like or don't like about it. Facebook, for example, is undergoing transformation and they want to make it more. They almost want to go back to what they were originally about. Facebook want to be able to, they want to measure meaningful social interaction. I don't know how you measure that. And they want to make Facebook more about you, friends and family interacting than it being a news outlet, for example. We here at ABC put stuff up on Facebook and we want you to get to know about that. Well, Facebook say, actually, that's not what we're about. We're really about connecting people. So I want to know, how do you use it to connect with friends? In what sort of way? What kind of things do you like? What do you like seeing? What do you like getting? How much do you use it? Are you someone who's used it a lot, had to wean yourself off a bit? What do you like? What would you... If you could sit down with Mark Zuckerberg, for example, what would you tell him? What would you say? What would you say, Mark, let me just lay this on you, Mark. What would you lay upon Mr. Zuckerberg? See, if I, for example, would say, could you figure out a way to ban the humble brag from Facebook and Twitter and all the rest? The humble brag being the kind of thing where you go, oh, that moment when your business is so successful, but you've already booked a holiday to the Maldives. Oh, I just don't know which way to go. That's the humble brag. Oh, look, couldn't be prouder. My child is just exhausted because he's prefect and drama captain. Poor little thing. Humble brag. In some ways, just brag. Just say, wow, I'm a proud parent today. My kid doing really well. That's sort of like a plain statement of fact rather than this sort of couch it as a complaint, which is a very common Facebook tone. What are you liking or disliking? Love to hear about it this afternoon. Brad Ridout is at the Cyberpsychology Research Group at the University of Sydney and joins us this afternoon. Hello, Brad.
G'day, James. How you going?
Good. I wondered whether you did the cyber psychologists sit around waiting for social media to turn up and they went, oh, thank goodness we've got something to do now? Or did you start in response?
No, cyber psychology has actually been around for over 20 years. As soon as the internet became a thing that the general public could use in the mid-90s, people started to wonder how it's going to impact on society once it broadened up the way that people can connect across the world. So it's it's definitely becoming more prevalent. But this research has been going on for a long time. Unfortunately, it's often lagging behind the changes like we're talking about with Facebook.
Right. Well, I suppose we'll always lag behind the changes. It has to change. We have to start to use it, and then you'll start to see what it's doing to us. What kind of questions do you ask at the moment? What sort of things are you observing and thinking about around social media at the moment?
Well, at the moment, we're actually a little bit concerned about the changes to Facebook, and they are claiming that it's going to be good for people's well-being, but they're actually saying that the time people spend on Facebook will go down, and they think that's probably a good thing. They realise that people can have too much of a good thing and get turned off. But by prioritising posts from friends and family over news stories, as you're saying, from businesses and publishers, it's probably going to have a negative effect, we're thinking, because... It's
going to have a negative effect. So, because it sounds to me like that would be better, that, here's my brother's going to send me, I will see the stuff from my brother and my friend and my family ahead of seeing stuff from let's say, news.
That's right.
It's not singling out any particular news organisation, or us,
No, the thing is, Facebook actually already does quite a good job of that. They know who you're closest to. They know who your friends and family are, your close ones, and they already show you that information. You're very unlikely to miss something from someone you're very close to. What you're probably going to see more of is those Facebook friends that aren't really friends in real life. So the acquaintances and, your broader network, you'll start seeing a lot more of those. And, a lot of the concerning evidence we're seeing is showing that the more people view status updates from friends that they're not particularly close to, so happy status updates, the humble brag that you were talking about, holiday snaps and such, it actually makes them feel worse.
Right. So have you found that to be a measurable thing? I mean, people will say that, I wonder whether they say it as it makes me feel worse, or they tend to blame the sender. Oh, I hate those people that send all that stuff. Are you saying it actually has a negative effect on our sense of well-being? Yeah,
absolutely. And that's through one of the pitfalls of social media, which is social comparison. So it's something that, is often at the back of people's mind, and when you're kind of saturating yourself in other people's lives. Even though we consciously know that people tend to post the carefully chosen highlights reel of their life on social media, and we know they're not showing us, unpacking the dishwasher and doing the boring stuff. They're picking out the highlights and, perhaps taking 10 shots of that selfie before they get the right one to post. Even though we know that, it's still hitting us at an emotional level. So it's leaving us feeling like everyone is living more exciting lives than us.
Right. And so how do you measure that? How have you measured that?
Well, a lot of the experiments have simply done a randomised controlled trial where you compare people who are seeing happy holiday snaps and such and those who are seeing more mundane stuff, and measure, as we do with any psychological research, you measure them before and after.
Yeah. But, do you think it's because we're a generation where this is new to us? Maybe younger people will grow up with this and be somewhat inured to it. They won't have that same sort of reaction. They'll understand that person spent all afternoon trying to take that selfie, and it won't have the same sort of effect.
Yeah, it's quite concerning for young people, especially because, as you say, they're digital natives. They've always known social media to be part of the way they socialise. So it's, for many of us, it's an adjunct to our social life. For young people, it's very much interlinked. So they'll see their friends at school and then go home and spend, the rest of the day talking to them on social media. So it's very much people, it's changed the way that people construct their identity. So you kind of have this more tangible control over the identity you present to the world, and you try and put that out on social media. It can leave people hungry for likes and comments and trying to get the right feedback.
But I wonder whether that's just a sort of interim phase. I wonder if you're 10 years old today, you've grown up with all this, you're going to keep going, and you won't be that concerned about it. It'll just fade into the background like television did for us.
Yeah, you'd hope so, but what we're actually seeing is that it is having an effect on some people.
Right.
So it really does depend on the person and how they use it.
Yep.
It all depends on how you get your social validation. So for a lot of young people, social media is a big part of the way they get social validation, and the trap is when you place too much of your self-worth on getting that validation via Facebook.
Brad Ridout's with us from the Cyberpsychology Research Group at the University of Sydney. We're discussing what we're liking, disliking about Facebook and social media. The thing to like is that it does connect us in lots of ways. We're able to keep up with friends around the world, find out what's happening. Get to know, stay in touch with people in a really wonderful, wonderful way. The negative might be you see too much, it makes you feel bad. People overshare, etc. So if you've got these sort of views, I'd love to hear them this afternoon. 1300 222 702. Somebody's texted, hate how everyone from one company all like and retweet each other's tweets. Yeah, so that sort of commercial use where it's just everybody passing it on, can look a bit ordinary. I think there should be restrictions on how many photos people are allowed to post of their kids' dance classes on Facebook. So boring. Exactly. I think that's a very good point. Richard?
Yes, hi.
You got a question?
Yes, my question was with regard to your social comparison point a minute ago, that we sort of feel bad about ourselves because other people look like they're having a better time. I was wondering, just flipping that around to the person who's posting their better time, what is the implicit statement about how they view themselves? You know, when I post that I'm having a great ski holiday in Japan for all the world to see, what am I saying about how I perceive myself or what my own psychological needs are?
Great question. Thank you. Brad?
Yes. Once again, I wish I had a simple answer for you, but it really does depend on the person. Two people can post the exact same post and the motivations behind it are different. And what we see is that, we've got to keep in mind that people are inherently social. So what we're seeing play out online in social media in a lot of ways is simply a replication of what we see in social groups face-to-face and have for all time. So there's always going to be people that, want the attention of the whole group and they're going to put themselves out there and want to be the centre of attention. And then there's others who, prefer one-on-one contact and they're probably less likely to post, or, it could simply be that, the circumstances of the person. So if you're living away from your home city, it might be a great way to tell everybody back home what you're doing.
So we don't know how... So if I'm someone who likes to display what I'm up to and I post my photo of my great skiing holiday in Japan, it'll make me feel good.
Yeah, well, once again, it really depends on the feedback. So if you're putting that out there and your primary motivation is to share and connect, that's great. If you're the kind of person who posts and then 10 minutes later you're looking to see how many likes you get and placing a lot of emphasis on, keeping a scorecard of how popular your post is, and, when you unconsciously start linking that to how, your self-worth based on the validation you get from your virtual entourage, that's when we start to see the negative effects on well-being.
Well, it's a problem I have with how to write for social media is that I don't want to write in that way that invites everybody to go, oh, James, that's so wise, or, oh, James, that sounds great, or, that kind of praise. Like, I find that really annoying, and I don't want that. I sort of just want to make a statement, and I'd almost like no comments whatsoever. I find, in fact, the more of those sort of comments I like, the more I felt like, did I just phrase this so you do that? Like, here's me with a dog. Oh, James, adorable. That stuff drives me nuts. So, in fact, it drives me away from doing anything because I don't want that sort of reaction. So I tend to feel bad when I post on it. So, what do you like? What do you dislike about social media? If you're a user, what sort of things what do you use it for in a positive way? What puts you off it? 1300 222 702 is our number. Carolyn?
Yes. Hi, James. How are you?
Good. What do you hate?
It sort of drives me a bit nutty when people post their love messages to their partners on their anniversary dates and things. And, my darling husband, it's been 20 years and I love you so much, and blah, 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 blah. I just find it makes me uncomfortable. It's like, that's an intimate thing and that's what you should tell the person you're sharing your bed with. You don't need to put it on Facebook. And I find, I sort of question why it's there, and the only thing I can come to is that it's just attention seeking.
It's funny, isn't it? And then again, I don't. If someone does that, I don't want to then post, "Oh, you two are so gorgeous, fantastic." Like that. I don't want to do that. And then I wonder, do they dislike me because I didn't? And then I see no other reason for them to do it except they want this bunch of comments down the bottom that says, "Love you too, to have 20 more."
Exactly. It puts you in an awkward. Exactly, because I feel like, I don't know that I want to. I think it's an intimate thing. I don't think it's up to me to even comment on it. And you sort of feel that pressure too. And then if you don't, exactly what you're saying, you feel like, all the other friends have said it, and I'm going to look bad because I haven't said it.
You know what it is? I think it's again, when it comes back to tone. If you posted, Carolyn, hey, we're having our 20th anniversary today, fantastic, couldn't believe that we'd get here. That's a message to your friends. Do you know what I mean? But when it's a message to one another, hey, love you so much, you're just still adorable, and I still wake up every morning and, can't believe you're there. It's the wrong tone for the environment.
Yes.
So I don't mind people celebrating the wedding anniversary, but do it in the way you would in public.
That's exactly right. And I think that's what I did when it was mine.
Yeah.
I tried to do it in that way.
Good, Carol. That's what I sort of, to me, it's often that the tone is wrong, that it should be, you should think of a public tone rather than a private tone. Brad, again, I wonder whether we're just in early days, we're sorting out exactly how to communicate in these spaces.
Yeah, we've definitely seen an evolution in terms of the way people do communicate, and we're seeing that as the older generations have come to Facebook, it's a great way for parents and grandparents to stay in touch with the rest of the family.
Yep.
We're seeing that young people are moving away from it. They really want to be able to communicate with their friends in a more private space, and we're also seeing that Facebook likes to change their privacy settings every now and then, but we're seeing some of the people with the highest settings are young people who simply want to be able to communicate in private, but still be on Facebook to see what everyone else is doing.
Oh, I have a feeling like if I had access to Mr. Zuckerberg or an Elon Musk or something, I'd say, why don't you make a social media that's entirely private? That's like is actually completely private, and you're not trying to get information out of me. You're not trying to market at me. I mean, that seems to be that will be the next phase of what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're actually seeing the use of Facebook is coming up. We were saying earlier that Facebook is seeing more and more news and less personal content. Personal content is Facebook's lifeblood, and it's actually now only 9% of their content. So what you're seeing more of is Facebook being used for common interest groups. So whether it's a mummies group or, a certain interest in a TV show or a certain health issue, people are connecting with other people across the world via Facebook, which is a really good thing. But what we're also seeing is, people want to be able to be anonymous, and young people especially. Yeah. So that's actually one of the new areas of research we're dealing with at the moment, is trying to do exactly what you were just saying, which is create a private social network where young people can go and be anonymous and talk in small groups.
Right. So, we might get you back to talk about that a little bit further at some other point. Brad Redout's with us, Cyberpsychology Research Group at the University of Sydney. What are you liking, what are you hating about our use of social media? Greg, sorry, I went to go to Murray. Sorry, Greg, I'll come back to you. Murray?
Yes.
What do you like?
Well, I was just telling a young lady that 18 months ago, one of my very best friends and I had caught up on Facebook, and then sadly he passed away. And that event has occurred, and I am now Facebook friends with probably 40 out of 60 of the blokes I went to school with back in high school back in 1980.
Okay.
So it's brought us all together. It was a sad occasion and everything else, but and I've got friends in Washington and Manchester and in Wellington, New Zealand. All went to school together, and we've all caught up, and we all, contact each other regularly, which I find is a wonderful thing.
That is a wonderful thing, isn't it? So, and are you getting sort of like both just news of the day, but a sense of support from that gang being back together?
Oh, absolutely. Some of the other boys have been through some troubled times, and you can get on there and show your support any way you can. And I think I'm the leader of the gang. I will travel anywhere and any time to go and see people as well, which I think is very important. And so it gives me a chance to find out where they are and how I can access them in person. So it's been a real, if used the right way, as Brad's saying, I find it a wonderful thing.
Well, this is I suppose this is the ambivalence I have about social media, is that there's a lot of the tone or the presentation or what I see on it that'll irritate me. On the other hand, it's amazing how it connects people. And I look at, say, just at my children and the way they've kept friends from primary school and kept in touch with them in a way that I never did. I went to a different high school. I went off to a high school. All those primary ones disappeared. I left the country town. I've never seen them since, really. But so those sort of connections are so much stronger because of this, and that's got to be a good thing. Brad, do you see? Can you measure that positivity that comes through the sort of connection that Murray was talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure if anyone remembers, around the time that Facebook started, around the mid-2000s, there was something called schoolfriends.com, which was an early version of a social network trying to connect people. And as soon as Facebook came along, it completely died because everyone was using it primarily for that purpose, to look up people and reconnect. So that can be a really good thing. I've also heard horror stories from people, connecting with their first love and, that causing problems in their relationship.
Well, yeah. But that's what I mean, like, in a sense, that's not the medium's fault, is it? Like,
No.
if I found out the phone number of a former girlfriend and was ringing, that would, quite rightly within my relationship, within my marriage, my wife might go, what the hell do you think you're doing?
That's right, and I think that's where people can demonise social media, because at the end of the day, it simply is a tool, a way of communicating, and it really is up to the person and how they use it and whether they can control their usage, which is something we're doing a lot more research into.
Yeah. Facebook anniversary posts, writes a correspondent on text. James, have to disagree. I view my Facebook audience like I view a room full of my guests at a terrific party. On special occasions, I use Facebook to make a little speech, as I would at the party. I definitely don't do it for the likes, just making how I feel known to my friends. That sounds nice. That sounds good. I think Caroline and I were talking about sort of a more intimate sort of thing. Like, that does sound like you're doing a public kind of presentation, which is what it is, really. Facebook is wonderful to keep in contact with my family and friends. However, my gripe is, why do people post photos and comments about their children to their children? Which is a bit the same what we were saying about the sort of love anniversaries and all the rest of it. Jen says, I use Instagram instead of Facebook. There's no need for comments on Instagram. The photo says it all. It sometimes is a matter of finding the one that works for you, doesn't it? John?
Yeah, hi.
What do you like? What do you dislike?
Look, a couple of things about Facebook. I love the social contact. I love particularly the groups, the interest groups and that sort of stuff. It's good to be able to connect with like-minded people. With one proviso, I guess you've got to remember that whatever goes on Facebook stays on Facebook. But one of my pet little peeves is when you get contacts or friends that put a little post on Facebook, and it might only be a one-liner to the effect of, I can't really tell you what happened to me today. Full stop. And you hear nothing from them for like days, and then you wonder what's happened, and there's never any feedback on it.
And so what they're trying to suggest, and so then that says to me that what you're looking for are comments that go, hey, hope you're okay, man, hang in there.
Yeah, and you see quite a few people say that, and I just hang back and say, why did you bother putting anything on if you can't tell me?
I think just tell me in capitals. You're killing me here. Tell me, what happened?
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why are you telling me that there's something you can't tell me?
Yeah, I guess they are looking for some sort of, question to come back.
Yeah.
Most of the people, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah. John, nice to hear from you. Thanks for that. That's what I wonder, Brad. I wonder whether we're really, we forget how new this stuff is. We're only 10 years into this world. I'm sure when people first, came up with writing letters to one another, probably some of those early letters were just big block capitals, hate you. Regards, James. Like maybe it took us a while to figure out how to do that in a way that was civil and everyone understood the form of it.
Yeah, that's right. And the scary thing is that we are only 10 years in, but within 10 years we're going to see the burgeoning field of virtual reality. So it's very likely that social media is going to be played out in virtual reality. So. Yeah.
Oh my God! Something's going to hologram into my studio right now that I went to school with. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it could be. So whole new set of opportunities and problems.
Sounds awful, Brad. Lovely to talk to you. Well, let's talk again about that group you're talking about with with a more private group for young people. That sounds very interesting. Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Fantastic. Brad Ridout is from the Cyberpsychology Research Group at the University of Sydney. My dad and his Rover Scout crew from 50 years ago are all in regular touch because of Facebook. They try to meet in person every year. That's fantastic. See, I love that. That's great. Thanks for that, and thanks for all your comments this afternoon.